this weekend, I watched some movies that I didn't see that people were telling me you have to watch these. So I saw A Train to Busan, and I saw Snowpiercer,
Right.
the 2013 one, not the TV series,
Yeah.
and apparently not the comic.
You're fine on that. You're fine on that on the movie. It's okay. The problem is, God, I don't know how many times I've gone into this, but you know what? Here, I'll just keep it going for a minute.
Okay.
And I'll show you the problem.
You have the problem at home. Okay. If you didn't see either movie, Train to Busan is this cutthroat fund manager who needs to travel to Busan with his daughter, and he's on the train, and shit goes down on the train, and it's a Z movie if you want to check it out.
So hold on a second. Why were you having a train themed weekend? What's up with that?
It was super random. Like, it wasn't really planned. I was just like telling my friends, like, oh, I haven't seen Snowpiercer yet, and they're like, oh, well, you should watch it, it's quite the experience. I'm like, okay. And then somebody mentioned also A Train to Busan right away, like, and I'm like, 2 train movies, might as well just do them one after the other.
Okay.
So we watched A Train
right.
to Busan and then Snowpiercer right after.
You could have tossed the Darjeeling Limited on top of that if you wanted to get
Yeah.
a little Wes Anderson in there. Well, anyway, so the deal is this right here is the Snowpiercer comic book.
Okay.
This is the original source material it was based on. This book kind of sucks. It's not a great comic. In the end, it's the train. It does the whole story.
Okay.
But it's just a not as well done and executed version of the story. Yes, exactly. You gotta read it back. This is your fault. Too bad. You want my head to turn the right way? You're gonna have to read Juan's Respirit. Ron's Respirit. That's your fucking fault. Okay?
It's just that good.
You can either get the things facing the right direction, or you can get my head turning the way you want to for your weird little comforts. You don't get to fucking complain about the inverted text and having the head turn the right way.
Yeah.
One or the fucking other. Anyway.
Hold that D.
This is absolutely your fault. So this shit sucks. It ain't great.
Okay.
But it is what it is, and it plays out a little bit differently. But in the end, whatever. It's the last train, and it's the story of all that, and the allegory of society with the class and the cars and all that stuff. Okay, great. The story wraps up in a very definitive manner, should we say?
Okay.
Even more, I'd say, even more extreme than the way the movie ends.
Oh, okay.
But whatever. You're like, all right, I guess that's just a case of the I'll just turn this way from now on, exactly, just to spite everybody. Whatever, that's just a case of the adaptation being what it is, and the adaptation turned out to be better. I don't know how the TV show ended up being, but blah. All right,
I was told
Watch
that
your foot.
the TV show was not great.
Okay, now here's the rub. This is Snowpiercer 2. And Snowpiercer 2 is the story of the sequel, where there was the second train, the Icebreaker, which was just on a different track somewhere else. So there was 2 trains the whole time.
No way.
And the second train has its own adventure that was doing its own thing. Never mind the Snowpiercer being the final train on Earth. There was just a second train the whole time. The Icebreaker.
Oh man, that raises a few questions in my brain after seeing the movie.
So the first book is not great. This is fucking garbage. Trash.
Oh my god, he chucked it.
It sucks, dude. And it sucks considering, like, the premise seems like it could be something interesting.
Yeah, super rad.
And then You saw the movie or whatever, and you're like, oh, okay, sure. Fuck that, right? And you know what it is, right? It's just another. It's even worse. They find a way to make an even worse story by extending the first one in ways that it didn't need to extend, or that it couldn't possibly extend. Why do I have it? Because I wanted to know. I wanted to know, and I got it, and I'm like, there's a Snowpiercer 2? The reaction every one of you had, I was like, what? Looking at it in the comic store. So then I bought it, and I read it, and it was the fucking worst. So yeah, that's what it is. The Icebreaker, Snowpiercer 2, The Explorers. Absolute trash. And you're just like, man, they got lucky by just taking a chunk of this and keeping it and adapting it into its own thing. And I always go into this thing about how, like, yo, Attack on Titan is so much better than it deserves to be. Right? It's so much more well written than expected or than it deserves to be, given the genre of show that it is.
The whole thing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's exceptional at this point. Like, every episode in the final season that's going on now is unbelievable.
Yeah,
right?
I'm waiting it out.
But that's not the point. That's not the point. Talking about how good that is not the point. The point is that, like, there's a thing where you have an interesting premise, and the premise is all you have. And there are so many types of survival-based, like, apocalyptic type stories, or not apocalyptic, but whatever the case is, there is a death game or death trap scenario that people have to escape from, and trying to understand how or why they got put in this situation, or what the reasons or the grand master plan was behind the whole thing, is oftentimes the way that you draw in someone's, like, curiosity and make them get like, oh, I want to figure out what this is about, right? Starting with Battle Royale, moving forward, you get all sorts of fiction that comes across and does this type of thing. Whether you're talking about Danganronpa, whether you're talking about, you know, the initial premise of Attack on Titan, whether you're talking about, like, any sort of, like, you know, like zombie stories, like a lot of those things have the same idea. Gantz, right? You wake up trapped in a fucking room with rules in a situation. 999, Zero Escape, all this bullshit. Right? There's Infinite Maze Runner, all that all of that shit, right? There is a wake up or not even wake up, but just there is a situation that you are stuck in. The rules of this game or this world or this situation or the threat are that if you don't follow the rules or whatever, you're going to die, and you have to figure out how to escape the death trap game.
Yeah.
Right? I say game on trap interchangeably because Attack on Titan is not a game, but it's still a death trap.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't know why you're in this situation. 13 Sentinels, same thing. Sword Art Online, same thing. High School of the Dead, same thing. Right? It's a really easy way to get people's brains firing to go like, what's happening? Why? Who would do that?
Yeah.
Right? And almost every single time it turns out that they had no plan. It turns out that, like, someone, I hypothesize a bunch of kids in high school going, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if, like, there's, like, aliens that attack, and, like, when you die, there's, like, weapons you use to fight them.
Yeah, okay, but why?
And then there's, like, this ball that, like, gives you points, and then, like, when you get to a certain score, it's like a video game, and then you can get, like, rewards. But then everyone, like, loses their memories. And then, like, there's, like, another room with more weapons in it. And, like, wouldn't it be cool? And then, like, every time, it's like, at first they fight some Buddhas, but then, like, some really strong guys come out. And then they fight other types of stuff. And, yeah.
But why?
Right? And you just don't actually have, like, a premise that is meant to go the distance. Because you don't actually... Like, you didn't even necessarily...
How do you validate the context?
You might not have written an ending for any of this, right? Now, a bunch of the examples I gave there, like 999 has a fucking great premise and ending that wrap up satisfyingly good video game. I enjoyed it. Danganronpa has its highs and lows, but for the most part is good.
Okay.
Right? But like there's a lot of these things. I mean, there's a fucking manga that was like something like, oh, if you, it's like, imagine if you don't get enough Twitter followers, you die. But also everyone who follows you, when you don't reach the number, if they follow you and you don't reach the cap, they die too. So you have to have a bunch of people that follow you, and then they have to choose to put their life in your abilities,
Man,
or whatever,
that's like
the
real
fuck
life,
that,
Woolie.
like, it was just some like, oh my god, you're just going through like the most elaborate nonsense style fucking premises of like death game trap scenarios, you know. And when you ask why, the answer is never good. It's never satisfying. It's always a stupid trash thing, like literally Battle Royale, the fucking big one that I'm like, you heap praise on that for it starting a lot of this shit,
Yeah.
and being the first one,
The genre.
but it has the stupidest reasons for existing ever. It's complete nonsense. Why do you have a bunch of kids on an island forced to kill each other, and if they don't, then their heads blow up?
Because youth is depraved, Woolie. Society decided so. Good enough.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Like, just the world is our world, except at some point we just like decided that we descended into a place where, nah, we got to sacrifice a classroom for some puritanical. It's nonsense. You know, I've never seen the Purge movies. I don't know what like makes that society go the way it does, but at the end of the day, if it's a horror movie or whatever the case is, you got, or Saw and Hostel and all that shit, you go, all right, there's like killer rules, and you know, you can follow whatever's going on in that type of situation. But in general, it's just schlock. It's garbage. Exactly. So this is one of those things where you go, what if a train everyone's dead except train. Class. Poor people at the back, rich people at the front.
You got something going.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Society. What happens? Right? Yeah, okay. So you know, oh, there's a fucking little slave child that has to keep running on the hamster wheel to keep the train going. Oh,
Perfect
commentary.
proportion.
It's the suffering child. It's the ones who walk away from Omelas. Yes. It's the allegory of the you know, the one suffering innocent person, so that we can have our perfect utopia, etc. Fucking, you know, but like, it's so dumb, because you start to see like this pattern all the time, and I'm like, if you don't give me at least a hint that you have a plan for what you're doing here, I'm gonna be like really exhausted right away with your death game trap plan scenario, you know. And this is kind of what happens. Snowpiercer is just one of those where you're like, yeah, okay, you're trapped on a train, everyone's gonna die, it's the end of humanity, whatever, fucking, you know, what are you gonna do with that with that premise, right? How did we get here? What's the history of all this? And it's just like, no, it's nothing, it's garbage, it sucks.
Yeah.
You had no good ideas. And then it's successful enough, and it got adapted. So then, and like, it was a half American, I think half Korean film production, and like that made some money. And then, you know, they're like, okay, cool, whatever. And so they're like, okay, well, what if another train though? You know, let's do it again somehow. And it's just like, man, cut your fucking losses, dude. Just write another story. You know,
maybe you'll get the answers you need in Snowpiercer 3.
Yeah, but nah, well. Anyway, so I'm like the initial, like, our human curiosity is too strong, and it pulls us towards these types of premises every time, because you're like, what could the reasons be? Hopefully they make sense. And then, you know, when they don't, you just go, well, I guess I wasted my time then, thanks. You know?
Yeah.
Or you can just turn into a fucking, like, hey, Gantz, let's take a side trip and have a weird entire volume where one of the main characters that's a villain just paints himself up as a black guy and cosplays this big black guy and walks around Tokyo just having a mass shooting for an entire volume with like no dialogue in it. It's just this dude, big black guy walking around Japan shooting everybody.
Okay.
and that's the whole volume. And like, it's like, we get it. He's a really evil guy. What's the point of this again? Nah, he's just evil though. Gantz is weird. I don't know. I never finished it. The vampires showed up and I kind of tapped out.
Oh my god. Every time a vampire shows up, it ruins everything.
Anyway.
Every single time.
It was I feel like it was a whole volume. I feel like it was an entire volume. If not, it was definitely a couple of chapters. Right? Anyway. Yeah. So that's Snowpiercer.
So, I'm sorry you had to know too much, Wooly. I saw the movie. I liked it.
movie was all right.
It was all right.
The movie was all right.
Yeah.
Supplementary material, unfortunately, doesn't do it justice. Movie was all right.
Yeah. Good Korean cinematography.